When you were younger, you did a really good job of what you might call daydreaming. You're awake, but you're just letting your mind wander in pleasure. Wander in pleasure. Most of you don't see that as a practical endeavor, to just let your mind wander. You had enough teachers snap you out of that in the classroom. Come back here and focus upon this boring stuff with the rest of us. You weren't encouraged to daydream because it was not practical by earth standards. In other words, pick up something and carry it somewhere, or move something over there, or dig a hole and put something in it, or dig a hole and take something out of it. In other words, action, action, action. And most of you have become oriented that if you are not acting, then you are not accomplishing. If you are not acting, then there is not something that is going on. And do not misunderstand us. We are not wanting in any way to guide you away from action. We just want you to put something in place before you act. We just want you to daydream yourself into alignment with true power, and then act as inspiration comes to you. We would like you to act on your daydreams. Now, we even have a little bit of difficulty getting Esther to really comprehend and exercise what we are talking about with daydreams, because she has always been a practical girl who wants to accomplish. She got straight A's in school, 100% on every test, until some made fun of her, and then she missed some just so that she didn't look like such a freak. She kept all the rules that were offered to her and jumped through every hoop that was dangled before her, because she was a practical little girl who wanted positive attention from those around her. Do any of you relate? And the reason that she kept doing it is because she kept succeeding at it. In other words, she jumped through a hoop and got lots of attention, and so she was willing to jump through another hoop. Now, if she'd missed some of those first hoops, or if she'd had negative people around who were not encouraging about the hoops, she might not have had so much success. And in many ways, it might have been better for her if she hadn't become such a successful hoop jumper. Because when you train yourself to please the practical-minded people around you, you train yourself, we love you so much, into mediocrity. You train yourself into low power, low energy, low achievement. You trained yourself into the kind of achievement that only moving stuff from place to place can accomplish. One year after high school, Esther spent a summer with her sister, and Esther got a job. She was so excited at a mental hospital. There are a few things that got her attention there. Everyone on the inside seemed just like everyone on the outside. It made her afraid of everyone. And as she got to know them, she could not figure out for the life of her why they were there. They seemed perfectly normal to her in almost every case. One day, the man that brought the pies to the canteen every day was slicing them into perfect symmetry. Esther was so impressed with him. She used to get in there really close and watch him do that. It was so impressive. And then one day she asked someone else, "Why is Ted here?" "Oh, he killed his wife with a butcher knife." Esther never knew if that really happened, but she never enjoyed watching the pie slicing again. But that's not really where we were going with this story. Where we were going with this story is that one day as she came to work, she noticed that out in the yard there were big equipment, and men were moving big piles of dirt to the other end of the yard. And then when she walked home for lunch, they were moving it to another place, and by the time she was walking home that night, they were moving it to another place. So she stood up against the fence until the foreman saw her, and he came over, and Esther said, "What are they doing?" And he said, "Oh, nothing, we're just keeping them busy." That's sort of our point with you. Sometimes you're just going through the motions, just moving things over here and moving things over here and moving things over here and moving things over here with different standards of accomplishment. But we have only one question for you ever about anything that you're moving from place to place, or about anything that you're doing. And that is, are you enjoying it while it's happening? Because we want to bring your attention to the most practical effort or action or use of your time that you might accomplish. We want to bring your attention to how you can utilize the very same energy that creates worlds, how you can allow it to flow through your consciousness toward your objects of attention for greatest, not just effectiveness, that's wonderful, but for greatest satisfaction for you. Because when you find a non-resisted thought, that is a powerful thing. You hardly ever do. You hardly ever find a non-resisted thought. You're too practical. You've known too many people who've told you too many things about too many things. You've had too much experience that has shown you how some things work and some things don't work. And it is so interesting how you remember. It is as if you were given a human class that goes like this. Others have been here before you and they have struggled. And if you will sign up with them, they will teach you all the ways that they have struggled, so that you can focus upon the struggle that they have all had, so that you too can have that struggle. That's not the way they tell you in the class. They tell you, we will tell you about our struggles so that you can avoid them, but that is not how it works. Esther bought a big house that sits on a hill in Utah. It's sort of in the ski area. Big house, and it has big things on top of it. It has a couple of turrets, looks like witches' hats. And it has a couple of bell towers. You're getting the picture. And on either end of it has big smokestacks that are artificial. No smoke, just stacks. And the smokestacks on one end of the house, they were never supported properly inside the structure of the house. And so they are blowing in the wind a little bit and causing a little structural damage to the roof a little bit and causing a little leak. And Esther has been thinking about them, but not very much until now. It is a sort of critical thing. So she called some people and they came and looked at it and they said, yikes. You need to deal with this fast. And it's a big thing. It's a big renovation. And it's going to call for some engineering. They're going to have to punch a hole in the house. They're going to have to bring cranes to the house. They're going to have to bring big cranes to the house. Those smokestacks are really far up. And when Esther thinks about it, from her not engineering, very limited, she has never moved a smokestack in her life, point of view, what do you think happens to her? So easy to worry. That could fall on someone. It could cave in. It could ruin the house. It could cost a fortune. It could. And so she wrote a series of emails to the people that looked at it with her. And what she really wants to know is it better to take them down or is it better to shore them up? What is the path of least resistance? But from her not engineering, limited point of view, what do you think this exercise in attention to something that she feels responsible for, what do you think it accomplishes within her energy? What do you think? It causes her to worry. It causes her to fret. It causes her to think worst case scenario. It causes her to remember the look on their faces. It causes her to see towering smokestacks falling into the neighbor's yard. In other words, it's so easy to negatively create around something so big, so really, really big, something so big and so scary, and something that we want to say to her, Esther, is not any of your concern. There are people who know what to do. Tell them to do it. So the conversation would go like this. If we were standing in Esther's physical shoes, see those smokestacks? Either take them down or make them stay. Whatever you think is best. I'll be back in 6 months. That's it. And then if Esther ever thinks of the house, She should think of the house as whole and beautiful and well, not smokestacks falling. You see what we're getting at? Something has made you and Esther believe that it's your job to get in the middle of everything, even things you don't understand. And you know what? Oh, we love you so much. You don't understand hardly anything. You don't understand the law of attraction. You don't understand electricity. You know how to flip the switches, that's about it. Even those who have harnessed it don't understand it. You don't understand the inner workings of your bodies. Your doctors don't either. You don't understand how consciousness flows. There are just things that you just don't understand. You cannot get detailed enough to understand them. And you can't step back far enough to get the big picture on anything. And yet somehow you've assigned yourself the responsibility of knowing everything about everything. And then you come away from event after event feeling not up to the task. And you know what? You're not up to the task. It's not your job to figure out how law of attraction works. It's only your job to know that when you don't feel good in a thought, you're contradicting your own energy stream and you're not helping whatever it is that you want. Can we get you to stand back into a more general place? Can we get you to help Esther not worry about her house? Can we get you to a place where you can just trust that things are working out for you and that whatever you need will come into place? And can we convince you that if you will trust that, if you will know that, and if you will practice lighter feeling thoughts, less intense feeling thoughts, if you can train yourself away from worry and into fun, and then you want to shout, Abraham, that's where I started out. I knew I was right when I explained that to my mother. When I said, I don't want to do that. And she said, well, there's plenty of things you don't want to do that you're going to have to do. No. When you do things you don't want to do, you set up a cross current of vibration within you, and you don't let the energy that creates worlds assist you in the way that it can if you'll be more light and easy about things. If we can convince you to take a more general view of things. But why is that hard for you? Well, we know some of the reasons. Some of the reasons are because you have wanted to excel, and so you've needed to compare yourself to others, and the others seem really busy, so you think you maybe should too. The others are measuring themselves against each other, and so you think you should too. But you're not factoring in the intentions that you were born with, the energy that creates worlds. You're not factoring in how open your valve is. You're not factoring in how clear your desire is. You're not factoring in how much introduction of resistance that you've got going on right here and right now. So this is sort of an orientation, a reorientation about who you are. We would like to convince you that you are so worthy that everything that you want can and is flowing to you. But your worry is what's holding it up. Or your measurement of you against others is what's holding it up. Your doubt, your fear. Now that doubt and that fear, that anxiety, all those things that are emotions, those emotions are just indicators of your resistance. But if you will start paying attention, you see, if you are able to quiet your mind like you do in meditation, or if you are able to just let your mind wander into good feeling places like you do in daydreaming, if you're able to allow your vibrational frequency to rise because you're not doing that thing you do that holds it into a resistant place, then things that you want begin occurring to you, and you get to be in on the hands-on movement and inspiration that looks like it's moving things along. We would like to say to you in very bold and blunt terms, and maybe a little loud, because that's how Esther often interprets our bold and blunt things. She speaks them loudly. Your action doesn't mean diddly squat. Your action is the way you enjoy the energy that you've lined up through your thought. And if we can convince you to do more daydreaming and less working hard at things, if we can show you how to get out ahead of things by letting the energy that creates worlds do all the groundwork so that you just get to follow the pattern and enjoy watching it come together.